What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 389. Appreciate you guys for all the feedback of me asking how many episodes you guys want me to do per week now. If you haven't chimed in, please do so. I definitely want to, get people's feedback. Like I said, I am right now leaning towards one episode a week because, like I said, the highlight clips are getting way more views on social media, on YouTube and all that. So I can just do the news immediately, pile them up, put them on one episode, have it released weekly for the people that enjoy the full form episodes. And the episodes would be longer, probably 2 hours and 30 minutes. But at least the news for people that want to get the news immediately, they'll get it right on the spot instead of having to wait, episodes and, until I speak on certain things. As far as reviews, I'm about to do in this episode, it will be on the full episodes only. It won't be on highlights or anything like that. I will clip it after, but the full episodes will be where I'll talk about, reviews like we're about to do in this episode where I'm going to be talking about the J. Cole The Fall Off. So I've had time to listen to it properly, digest everything. And I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it later because there's something in there where I was like, should I leave it at this or should I explain more? But you'll see what I'm talking about later on that. So I did listen to the whole album, obviously, sat with it since its release. Even when I was sick, I was listening to it, just trying to get a feel of where this guy was going with it. And before I get into that, let's talk about some news. So there's a lot going on. Young Dolph's murder suspect is reportedly finalizing a plea deal. So let's go over this. Young Dolph was tragically murdered over 4 years ago in his hometown of Memphis, a long-running case that might finally reach its conclusion. According to Fox 13 Memphis, the third and final murder suspect in this case, Cornelius Smith, is reportedly finalizing a plea deal with prosecutors. Per the outlet, on Thursday, February 12th, Smith appeared before court, and they expected him to plead guilty due to reports of a plea deal coming into the picture. However, following the hearing, the court instead delayed the plea hearing to March 30th in order to iron out details of the plea deal. More specifically, these details refer to considerations on where the Tennessee Department of Corrections will house him. The district attorney's office reportedly confirmed the existence of a plea deal. Smith's attorney, Michael Scholl, and Shelby County Deputy District Attorney Paul Hangerman reportedly told the outlet they're ready for this chapter to be closed, per Fox 13 Memphis. Investigative reporter Kayla Solomon, after the March 30th hearing, purportedly for Cornelius Smith's guilty plea, the murder case of Memphis MC will finally wrap up. So basically, he's going to plead guilty, obviously. I mean, why wouldn't he? Previously, Cornelius Smith confessed to Young Dolph's murder and took the witness stand to testify against the other murder suspects in the case, Justin Johnson and Hernandez Govan. Johnson received a life sentence for murdering Young Dolph. Smith told the court that Big Jook, the late brother of Dolph's rap rival Yo Gotti, ordered him and Johnson to carry out the hit on Dolph. Meanwhile, the court acquitted Hernandez Govan of the murder, whom authorities accused of being the mastermind behind the hit. Hernandez Govan faced scrutiny for this Young Dolph verdict, fighting with media figures and commentators who painted him as a murderer. This follows years of controversy and complex legal matters in this case, which Dolph's family has suffered through immensely. Elsewhere in this case, Jamarcus Johnson and Shondale Barnett received charges of accessory to murder after the fact. With Cornelius Smith's plea deal finding resolution, this could be the final step to put this case in the books. We will see if anything changes the expected outcome. Well, it's good to hear that this is finally coming to a close. It was reported that Young Dolph's vehicle has been shot up quite a few times throughout the years. Not Young Dolph, sorry. Yo Gotti's vehicle has been shot up. What am I mumbling on words right now? Shot up. His Rolls Royce was shot up, I believe, 200 times or some crazy number. So the revenge factor is there for Yo Gotti because clearly Yo Gotti had, I'm not going to say directly because that's the wrong thing to say, but he was tied to the people that obviously Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, was the one that, put out the hit. He got killed attending an actual funeral. He got killed. So he was retaliated on immediately once they found out that Big Jook was the one that ordered the hit. And then I'm pretty sure Yo Gotti had something to do with it. There's no way that he had just no clue of anything going on. Now, will he ever get charged with something? Will he ever get prosecuted? Will anything ever come out of it? Probably not, because I assume Yo Gotti was moving a little bit smarter. But the retaliation factor is there. Like, he's forever going to have to look behind his back because his brother got killed. Young Dolph was murdered. That's why you really don't see Yo Gotti out and about anymore. He used to move around a lot, and now he's kind of low-key, kind of does his own thing, and that's the way he's going to have to move for the rest of his life. That's just the reality situation. Because just like, how many people love Yo Gotti, a lot of people loved Young Dolph. And same with Key Glock. He's going to have to be moving, smart as well. Because Key Glock, he's very close to Dolph, obviously. Family, blood ties there too as well. So he's an individual that moves around a lot. And he's going to have to kind of watch how he moves as well. It's a shame, man, because Dolph was really moving around like it was nothing. And it's like, you got to be smarter when you move around. The baby, he actually he did an interview with Tony Yayo and Uncle Murder's The Real Report podcast. And he said something really smart, man. Something that I'm just surprised more rappers don't pick up on this. He was like, I don't show my cars off like that anymore on social media. And I don't wrap my cars all the same color to make it very clear that people know who I am, like who's in this car. Because one thing that Dolph did was wrap all of his cars in the camouflage wrap. The military camouflage wrap. He had a lot of cars like that. And that's clear indication of who that is in the car, or at least people associated with that person. So in that Corvette that he got killed in, or not killed in, but that he was driving when he got killed inside that cookie place, it's clear as day, man. That sticks out like a sore thumb. How many people got a, camo wrapped Corvette? I mean, it's just, you're putting a huge target on yourself when you're doing that. And the baby said, hey, I just roll around the Cybertruck, and that's it. It's very low key. Nobody knows it's me in there because there's a lot of Cybertrucks out there. But they got this. What's funny is I think another rapper was mentioning the Cybertruck thing. I forget. There's another rapper mentioning the Cybertruck thing and I roll around the Cybertruck now. I don't even roll around these cars. And it's funny, these rappers think that car is bulletproof. It is if it's a 9mm, but that's about it. It's not as bulletproof as they think. If somebody pulls up with a fucking, I don't know, an AK-47 or something crazy, they're going to shoot through that bitch. That's not a completely bulletproof car. It is way safer than a regular car for a celebrity, of course, because of the, semi-bulletproof abilities. But other than that, that's huge misinformation on that car. But needless to say, moving with a Cybertruck is way smarter than, because it's low key, like the baby's saying, a lot of people have that vehicle. So it's a lot more low key. Who was it? Bad Bunny sold his Bugatti, his $3 million Bugatti for its Toyota Corolla, old Toyota Corolla, because he was like, every time I go somewhere, there's too much attention on that car. And I'm not here to brag of my car, the Audi R8, which I got, but I don't like driving it. I'm going to be 100% honest. The reason I love, hold on, let me reword that. I love driving it. Perfect car, amazing car. Other than that car, I don't have anything else that's fancy. I don't wear designer clothes. That's the only thing that I got that can show you hey, he's got something. That's it. And that car just gets too much attention when I'm driving it. When I go to a gas station or when I stop anywhere at a grocery store or I'm going to a restaurant, there's always at least 1 to 3 people will talk to me. And what's funny is I was outside of this Mexican restaurant. This is last year, probably in August or September. I went to this Mexican restaurant and I didn't plan for this. It just happened. I parked my car in front of the restaurant because it wasn't it was on this sidewalk. It was this kind of, I don't know what the fucking proper word, this, not a cul-de-sac, but it's the area where there's a bunch of restaurants. You can park your car. It's kind of just like a club type of area. I don't know how to explain it. Whatever. But it's this area where there's a bunch of restaurants, a lot of people walking around. So I parked my car in front of the restaurant, and there's a lot of cars there parked. So I didn't really think anything of it. It was just an open spot. I parked there, and we ended up sitting right in front of the car. Like, that's where we got seated because it was packed, but that seat right in front of the car was open. So it's like this open balcony, and we can see, people walking past it, and legit, like, out of 10 people that were walking by, 7 out of 10 would stop to take a picture or would stop to look at it. And I recorded a little bit of this actually because it was just funny. It was like, and I had, I'll never forget I did this. I had these little, they're like high schoolers. They're like 14, 15. You can tell they're like in high school. And they're like, oh my God, look at this Audi R8, blah, blah, blah. And like I had the key next to me. So then I put the alarm, like it started beeping with the alarm and it scared them. Like, holy shit, let me get away from it. And I was just about to burst out laughing because they didn't know like the person that owns that car is right there. But yeah, I got a little bit of footage of it. Like my phone was just chilling because it was hilarious, man. But yeah, like I understand why Bad Bunny sold. Obviously, Bugatti's way more attention grabber. I'm not comparing an R8 to a Bugatti. That's a whole different level. But the R8, you don't see that often as well. So I understand. Like I don't really like going out with it too much. It literally sits in my garage. Like I've had the car since December of 2023, and right now in February of 2026. It's well over 2 years. It's got 6,000 miles on it in 2 years and like 2 months, which is nothing. That means 3,000 miles a year, if that. And that was like, I was putting that bulk of miles on it like in the beginning when I got the car. Now it's really just sitting. I kind of had my fun with it. I love the car. I love to go out with it whenever I can, but it just like, it's a day where I go out with that car on a day where I don't mind talking to people. Because if it's a day where I just kind of want to go out and mind my own business and don't want to, because there's days where I just don't want to talk to anybody about the car or, anything like that. So I just don't grab it that day. I have a daily driver, a regular ass car that's got a shit ton of miles and it's the most average ass car. And I drive that and that's it. I'm happy with it. And I love it. So with these cars, man, I say all this to say, these rappers got to move smarter. Don't camouflage wrap your cars. Don't show. If you do camouflage wrap it, don't show it on Instagram so people know what car you're in. Like, just be a lot more low key, man, and you'll be able to move a lot easier. Not everything has to be posted online. Is basically what I'm saying. So yeah, it's unfortunate, man. Dolph probably could have avoided that whole situation if they probably didn't recognize that car, man. That's probably one of the main reasons. If I remember, I don't remember in the trial if they said that's one of the main reasons. I think it was, but yeah, that's like a very blatant, like loud. That rap is very loud in your face, So, yeah, rest in peace, Young Dolph. All right, so we finally got a ruling when it comes to this Lil Durk trial with the lyrics and video as evidence. Let's go over it. Lil Durk's murder for her trial will begin in about 2 months from now, and recent developments in this case against them are crucial to its deliberation and outcome. A newly unsealed document ruling from federal judge Michael W. Fitzgerald reportedly issues findings on what songs, lyrics, and videos can appear as evidence in this trial, which prosecutors and defense attorneys have fought a lot over. According to Complex, the judge said the court can only use screenshots of videos, but he might allow one particular video, which prosecutors claim was a reward offer for carrying out Durk's alleged bounty against Quando Rondo. The inclusion of this video, as reportedly outlined by Judge Fitzgerald, depends on whether prosecutors can convince the court that the recording serves as proof of the bounty that is not overly prejudicial. Prosecutors have proposed 13 song excerpts. I can't even talk today, man. This judge reportedly allowed 4 of them, some with cut out portions of the excerpts, and denied 5. Interesting. So 4 and then denied 5 of them. The 4 other excerpts will reportedly require further explanation from prosecutors at the next hearing on February 23rd in order for him to rule on their potential inclusion. As for lyrics, that Judge Fitzgerald denied he did so because even though they described similar actions to what the Chicago rapper has been accused of doing, there was no legitimate evidence that these lyrics specifically referred to a 2022 shooting targeting Rondo in Los Angeles, which is where prosecutors allege that shooting took the life of Quando's cousin, Lil Pap. Yeah, so I guess screenshots of videos is allowed. Certain songs, 4 with some cutout portions. I don't know, man. So they're basically allowing a little bit of stuff, not really. Which, that's what I said, man. I said, if it makes sense, if it makes 100% sense, and it just lines up perfectly, I would allow it to be used. Because there's certain things that can't just be passed off as art. because there's just certain details, certain moments that rappers talk about, and it just lines up so well that you can't just pass that as, oh, I'm just a gangster rapper talking about random things. Like, no. You can't be saying, oh, I shot your mom at a parking lot at, I don't know, Publix and this and that. And then you're like, on this day, on a sunny day with 67 degrees when it was raining, like, come on. That people are going to know, like, hey, this is tied to this. But that's how I feel about the situation. But for the most part, I don't think music and videos should be used as evidence. At the end of the day, that is mainly art. But if it ties in like really, really well, then, hey, man, it gets used. I don't care. Updates on R. Kelly, and he is sent to solitary confinement. It's crazy. R. Kelly just put a wrench in his own plans to get a new trial. The disgraced singer and songwriter got himself thrown into solitary confinement at FCI in Butner, North Carolina. According to All Hip Hop, the exact infraction he committed was not disclosed. However, for those unversed, solitary confinement, or what someone's referred to as SHU or the hole, is a wing in prison that comes with strict regulations. Prisoners sent here spent 23 hours a day inside a cell and have very limited access to a phone, in-person visits, and legal materials. The latter are extremely important in R. Kelly's case because he's currently fighting for a new trial. Brio Brindley, the performer's attorney, was informed of this update about 30 minutes before his arrival at the prison. He was heading there to review some materials that were tied into Kelly's motion. But even after Brindley finally got to chat with them, they weren't able to discuss the matter at hand. For those wondering, the same girl hitmaker specifically motioning for a new trial in his Chicago case. There, he was found guilty on charges of child, and enticement. He was hit with 20 years along with a 30-year bid stemming from his New York racketeering and sex trafficking conviction. Remember, most of those charges are running concurrently. You know what was interesting? It has nothing. Well, it's kind of got something to do with this. Is people were debating who is the king of R&B. I am the king of R&B. You know what that means? That means if you love your chick, don't take it to the VIP because I might leave with your chick. That's R. Kelly. I think I'm a flirt. I don't know, man, who's the king. Right now, Chris Brown's just been, longevity-wise, been dominating it. I know people, because people are saying, like, hey, if you say Chris Brown, well, he's put his hands on females too. You can't have this kind of bias with R. Kelly, but R. Kelly's dealing like, there's like, first off, domestic violence is horrible. That's not even there's no debating that, right? But having child things, doing things with children, underage people, that is like 100x worse. I view that as the worst, because that leads to all kinds of trauma that can be spread. Usually when child predators get caught, they were abused themselves, and that's how they got into it. Probably like 80% of the time. So they're very bad. Like, they're top of the. So they mention all these things, but I don't know if you take all that away, which I don't. I can't like listen to the music and then know this person is this, right? And people are gonna say you pick and choose Quake because you fuck with Dr. Dre and Dr. Dre's done stuff. You fuck with Chris Brown's music, he's done stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope. I think it's how bad it's been done. With the Dr. Dre thing, it was way before my time. I wasn't even born, I think, when he did that stuff. For Chris Brown, the Rihanna situation, they both kind of owned up to it. Rihanna kind of said, hey, I instigated it. I was the one that was forcing the situation. As far as the other ones, I'm not really well informed. I know he had some stuff with, what's her name, man? Kalani or whatever the hell her name is, with her. But for the most part, he's been out of trouble. I mean, I think nobody's perfect, but the R. Kelly stuff I can't forgive, man. That's just like next level. I tie it to the music, but I guess people, I get why people can separate the two and say, hey, that's the personal person, but this person's music. But here's the thing. R. Kelly talks about women in the music. So it's like he's dealt with underage women. That's kind of weird to me on that aspect versus Chris Brown talking about women and he's beat a woman, or a woman or maybe multiple. It's a little bit different. You can kind of, I'm not excusing it. It's fucked up. But you can kind of like, hey, it's not like when I'm listening to Chris Brown talk about a female, I'm not thinking of an underage girl. When it comes to R. Kelly, he's done that, so he could be potentially talking about underage girl. And there's some lyrics in there, and a lot of R. Kelly's music that's very questionable. Let's just say that. But there's this conversation on social media about who's the king of R&B, and a lot of people hold that title to R. Kelly, and I could see why. But I feel like R. Kelly's run wasn't that long. You know, I feel like he reached like his peak in the late 90s and then kind of fell off in like 2008, 2009. So it's like a 10-year run. Maybe, I mean, I guess you could say mid 90s, so a 13, 14-year run. Whereas Chris Brown's been having a hit every time he drops an album since 2005 is when he dropped his first album, 2005 till now, 2026. He's got that record with Bryson Tiller on the charts doing, you know, it peaked out, it got to like number 18 or 16 or something, number 14. And he's doing all these tours, breaking these numbers. Now, could have R. Kelly been that had he not gone down this route? Yeah, of course. I mean, had he not gone this route, he could have easily been, you know. But then you got Usher, who's had an incredible run. But I think Chris Brown's has been more modern still. Like, how old is Chris Brown? I think he's about to reach his 40s, bro. I'm tripping, yeah. He's 36, so, you know, he's tapping the 40s pretty close here. And he's still, like, cool to a certain extent, right? Like, people still fuck with him from the young generation to the older. I remember going to that Chris Brown concert, bro. It was all kinds of females, older to younger. Just Chris Brown's consistency has been there, and he's been dominant. There's been years where it was just Chris Brown, and that's it, like in terms of R&B. There's nobody else even coming close. And, you know, R. Kelly's had his dominance. Usher's had his dominance, but I think Chris Brown's just been the most consistent. To me, I give it to Chris Brown. But, that's kind of I just wanted to mention this R. Kelly thing. He's going to, you know, be in solitary confinement, try to get a new trial. It's not going to work out. He's still going to be facing that time. It's over for him. And it should be. He's a disgusting person. This was amazing. Shout out to Michael Jackson's estate. So Sexxy Red decided to preview kind of like her interpretation or interpolation, whatever you want to call it, of Michael Jackson's Beat It song. And she named her song Just Eat It. And it's very sexual. It's not good at all. It's trash. And Michael Jackson's estate responded. And they shut the shit down immediately. So let's go over this. Sexxy Red's sexually overt lyrics and performances have been controversial from the very beginning. But whether you like it or not, that's the St. Louis natives brand. Based on internet disclosure, it feels 50-50 on where people stand on her. However, that percentage is swinging in a negative direction after her latest act. The Ski Yee artist decided to share a remix she's been working on to one of Michael Jackson's many iconic hits, Beat It. It was actually previewed by Lil Yachty, who captioned the post in a joking manner, sneak peek scene of the new Michael biopic, he typed. While we were sure the recording was made in good fun, this modern rendition is completely bastardized. That's the take that many have expressed since it came to light yesterday. MJ's rolling in his grave. One ex-user claimed. Another adds, I know damn well that Jackson is not signing off on this trash. A third denounces the newer crop of MCs. I hate this generation of rappers. I wholeheartedly agree. Well, it appears that Michael Jackson's team doesn't appreciate Sexxy Red's sexually charged version either. They released an official but also very blunt message slamming her in the process. We were totally unaware of this. The use of the music is unauthorized, it says simply. Fans are happy to see Sexxy Red getting called out, giving Michael's estate props for maintaining the integrity of the late singer's discography. Salute to the state. Get that BS out of here. I agree, man. The song remix, even if it was done in fun joke, it is a terrible, terrible joke. It is terrible music. I am, like, here, I can enjoy vast, vast versions of hip hop. Like, from Nas, lyrical stuff, to funny, hilarious music, to horror hip hop, to fast rapping, to slow rapping, to melodic, to not lyrical. But the over-sexualized music, I can just never enjoy, whether it's coming from a male or a female. And that's where Sexxy Red's music comes from. It's just the most trash music. And it's something that, there's a guy that tweeted like, okay, J. Cole is going to pass the torch to J.I.D., Kendrick's going to pass the torch to Baby Keem. Who is Drake going to pass the torch to? And then Sexxy Red quoted it and it was like, me. And I was like, I hate that Drake, that's like what people would say. Like Drake co-signing this type of bullshit of music too is what made me dislike him as the years have gone on. And I'm a Drake fan. I like certain parts of his career, but this later portion of his career has just been horrible. He's been trying to cater to the newer sound and bringing these like garbage trash artists. And I can't co-sign it. And I don't like Sexxy Red's music. There's a lot of like female-driven sexual records by a lot of female artists that are just horrible. They're trash. I don't want to hear it. I could give two fucks about it. Unfortunately, there is an audience for it. But yeah, her music is just like, I can't. This is one artist that I just, please, I hope this artist just goes away. She falls off the face of the earth, and we just never hear from her ever again. I would love that. But yeah, her remix is trash. I'm glad that State jumped in. I never want to hear that remix ever again. I hope she never plays with Michael Jackson's estate like that ever again. That's disrespectful to him, his family, and so on and so forth. That's my thoughts on it. I'm glad that shit got shut down immediately. NBA YoungBoy has broken a record, man, and this is going to be interesting to see if any new rapper breaks his record in the future. It's kind of like 50 Cent's Give It Your Die Trying debut first week sales type of thing. Let's go over it. NBA YoungBoy sold out all 42 shows on his Massa Make America Slime Again tour, selling 552,000 tickets. NBA YoungBoy has been in the game for a long time, so it's wild to think he only just recent had his first headlining tour, the Massa Trek. This followed a lot of legal issues, but upon his return to stage, success has been staggering to see. According to touring data on Twitter, NBA YoungBoy now boasts the highest growing tour by a debut headlining rapper in the United States history. He sold out all of his 42 shows on the tour, generating $70 million in revenue from over 552,000 tickets sold. So yeah, he has the highest debut headlining tour by a rapper in U.S. history. Round of applause for him. The publication also included some more details about this commercial achievement. For example, the Baton Rouge lyricist's highest grossing concert on this tour was on October 3rd, 2025, stop in Philadelphia Xfinity Mobile Arena, netting $2.3 million. It just so happens to be his highest grossing concert of all time as well. In addition, NBA YoungBoy had his most attended show of all time on November 9th for that year, for which the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas sold 15,343 tickets. See, that is actually having momentum in motion. A lot of these rappers say they have sales and all this stuff, but unless you're doing this type of numbers when you're touring and people are actually coming out to see you, then you're just talking out your ass. So round of applause for NBA YoungBoy. That is very dope. All right, 50 Cent. This is something that I reported on and the 50 reposted from my page. Shout out to 50 to GOAT. And it is 50 Cent's third album, Curtis, surpassing 1 billion streams on Spotify. Which is here's the thing. When I report, there's like somebody that tweeted at me was like, why do you only report, or like, why do you report these about the albums, whatever? Because artists that come from the 90s, from the 2000s that didn't have streaming, is very hard for them to have over 1 billion streams on an album. Very hard. T.I. has only one. The rest are like at 500, 400,000. Let's see what Ludacris has. I'm just going to see a bunch of rappers that came from the early 2000s, late 90s. Let's go to DMX. DMX has, let me see. He's got his greatest hits. That's reached 2.5 billion. Yeah, so the rest are like compilation albums, but he has one album, Grand Champ, reached 1.4 billion. That's it. Everything else is a soundtrack, Cradle to the Grave, DMX Don't Try to Understand, which is a compilation, The Definition of X, Pick of the Litter, which is the greatest hits, DMX The Legacy, which is greatest hits, and the best DMX are greatest hits, which they have a bunch of greatest hits. But that's it. One album of his reached 1.4 billion streams. Let's go on another artist that was popping at that time, Ja Rule. Let's just see what his albums have done in streams. So he has a greatest hits, best of, 1.5 billion. Sorry, excuse me. And Pain is Love, that just reached 1 billion. And that was like, it's at 1,051 million. Pain is Love. That's it. One album besides the greatest hits. What else? Who else came out in the early fucking 2000s? We know Eminem and Jay-Z have hit a few. Jay-Z's actually had a lot of compilations as well. Let's go to Nas. Nas has the greatest hits, and then Nas has Illmatic, 1.2 billion, and that's it. The rest is literally greatest hits, the essentials, Nas, same shit. So he's got one album, Nas. Who else, man? Let's go to Ludacris. I think I said Ludacris. Just to kind of prove my point that these artists, it's hard for them to get. Ludacris, what the fuck? Ludacris shows something totally different. A compilation album? What? This is so wrong. They got Ludacris on here, but yeah, Ludacris doesn't have one. So he's got one that's reached 425 million. That's it. T.I. has one. Who else, man, that came out in the early 2000s? The Game. Let's see where he's at. Just a We'll do Jeezy as well, just out of that. The documentary, and the rest are just like the documentary / Doctor's Advocate. So it's that compilation too. But it's just the documentary that reached a billion. Everything else hasn't reached a billion. One album. Let's see, Young Jeezy. I'm just curious. So he's got the compilation album about to reach a billion, but his first album is at half a billion, 500 million. So I say all that to say, you can throw a lot of artists on this, from the 2000s or the 90s. I say that to say not many artists have multiple albums reach over a billion streams that came out in the 90s or early 2000s. Not many. You got Kanye, who's got a few. You got Eminem, who's got quite a few. Let's see how much Kanye has. So Kanye's got a lot. He's got Graduation, Life of Pablo, My Dark Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne, Donda, The College Dropout, Late Registration, Yeezus. Basically, his whole fucking catalog, from what I can see. Vultures 1 is at over a billion. So basically, Kanye's whole fucking catalog has reached a billion streams from what I'm seeing here. Yeah, Jesus is King's even at, that's crazy. So Kanye is one of the few that, like I said, Kanye's been very relevant in today's time. Eminem, let's see where Eminem's at. Eminem's got quite a few as well. Yeah, you got, obviously his greatest hits is at fucking 17 billion streams. His Curtain Call 2 is at 15 billion. But you got the Eminem Show, you got Marshall Mathers LP, Recovery, Stands, the soundtrack has even reached a billion. Marshmallows LP 2, Music to Be Murdered By, all of his fucking albums have reached there. Yeah, every single album. Even The Death of Slim Shady. That's at 1.9 billion right now. That's his most recent one. So besides Eminem, Kanye West, that's really about it. Those are the only guys that have been relevant, musically, consistently, and been doing numbers crazy. Jay-Z's he's got a compilation album. He's got a collab album with Kanye West, Watch the Throne. He's got The Blueprint 3 is his only solo album to reach a billion streams. That's it. And I told you guys in 2009, that's probably Jay-Z's peak, is when he released The Blueprint 3, because Empire State of Mind, that record took him to number 1 for the first time in his career. And in terms of songs, Hot 100, don't get it confused. People will be like, oh, Jay-Z has 14 number 1 albums. I'm talking about songs. That was his first number 1 hit ever on the Hot 100. But that's it. You got Magna Carta, Holy Grail, it's at 894 million. So it's about to reach a billion. Probably, it only gets 264,000 daily listens. So it'll probably reach that next year or something like that. So there you go. He's got one album, and it's at 2.5 billion. So 50 has 3 albums, and technically in his whole career, he's got 5 solo albums. Without counting the soundtrack, the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack, that reached billions of streams. But you got the greatest hits from 50. You got Get Rich or Die Trying. You got The Massacre, and now you got Curtis. And 50 posted what we posted. And in the caption said, I thought I only had one good album. Which one of your albums got a billion streams? That ain't good because I know you got bars, LOL. So it's a huge feat because a lot of people give Curtis shit. They complain about the album. They talk shit about it. They say it's a bad album. A lot of people, when we posted this, we're getting a lot of people saying it's a bad album. And you know what's the funny part about it is, so before we posted this, it was getting 967,000 daily streams. After we posted it and 50 posted on his page, it started getting 1.1 million daily streams. That's how much of a boost. It got boosted 200,000 listens just off of 50 reposting what we posted. I say all that to say, this album is getting daily streamed 1 million times by people. Daily, 1 million times. That's crazy. And people are somehow still going to deny that. I get it if you don't like the album, but that's just you. Because there's people that were literally telling me, this is why streams don't matter. Who gives a fuck? Because this album's trash. The fact that it got a billion streams, it's still trash. Doesn't matter. But streams is actually what tells you what the world is listening to, what the world wants to listen to daily. It's the best way to know. Thankfully, Spotify tells you the numbers, which is very good. But this is the world telling you, hey, this is what I listen to daily. You get Get Rich or Die Trying doing 3.7 million daily streams. You got The Massacre doing 1.7 million daily streams. You got Curtis doing 1 million daily streams. Before I Self-Destruct is at 500,000 daily. So So that just tells you that, hey, first off, Curtis had 2 hits. I Get Money, AO Technology. AO Technology is a global, worldwide hit. I've heard that record everywhere. Everywhere I've traveled, I heard that record at least once. And it's an old-ass song, but I still hear it. And you can tell by the views. You can tell by the streams. It's one of his most, let's go actually on songs. It's one of his most streamed songs as well, I believe. AO Technology is at 414 million with daily 529,000 listens, which is more than most of his songs that get daily listens. So that record, that song is going to eventually get 1 billion streams in due time. It's probably going to take another 2 years, but it'll get 1 billion. He's back to clear 1 billion streams with 21 questions. That's at 990 million right now. But I'm saying this to say, I was getting into arguments with some people. They're like, yeah, this is why streams don't matter. But the album is trash and it doesn't matter to you. To you. Like, how ignorant, this is the problem, is a lot of people, they live in their own little bubble. They live in their own little world, and they think they're the main character in the world. They think that just because they don't listen to it, that nobody else listens to it, it's a garbage album, nobody fucks with it. It's just because they don't fuck with it, everybody else doesn't fuck with it. That's not true. And Curtis wasn't that bad of an album. It does have bad records on there that I cringe at. Like Fire is one of them records. Follow My Lead, I wasn't a fan of at all. I really wasn't a fan of All of Me with Mary J. Blige. I could really care less about that. But it had its high moments, man. It had very aggressive records. Man Down was censored because he was talking about killing the police. My Gun Go Off. Curtis 187, Fully Loaded Clip. You know, these are very aggressive records that were dope. But it's a funny, like, when you mention these streams to people, they'll just throw like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, no, this is literally showing you what the world is listening to daily. Like, why would 50 boost these numbers? What does he gain from boosting his album streams this late in his career? He's already made money off the bulk of his music early on when CDs were actually selling and artists were getting actually paid. What is him boosting Curtis to get 1 billion streams? What does that gain for him? Nothing. He's making money off TV. Music he's barely making money off of. I bet you maybe yearly he's making 5 to 10 million. Maybe more. I don't know. It depends on what he owns and how much masters, but he's not making that much money. He could give 2 fucks about these albums doing these numbers. He posted because it just shows that this album that was getting so much flack has aged. For 50 standards, you could say, okay, yeah, look, Get Rich or Die Trying's at 6.6 billion, Masker's at 3.1 billion, and now Curtis finally reached 1 billion. But if you compare it to his competition around that time, like, here's the funny part too. Like, everybody gives Curtis flack and says this wasn't an album that had hits. What the fuck? Like, why is this getting 1 billion streams? You guys do realize in 2007, 50 Cent had the second best selling album that year out of every other artist that released that year. The second best selling album. So to assume that album wasn't listened to and that people didn't care about, that it had no hits, is just dumb. It's stupid. It's very, very dumb. Like, Kanye is the only person that beat him, but it gets overshadowed because Kanye destroyed him. And Graduation is way better of an album, obviously. That's not even a debate. But it gets overshadowed from that battle, and then people are like, oh, I didn't have any hits. This is a garbage-ass album because Kanye beat him. You know? But I get it. If you don't like the album, hey, that's fine. It's your opinion, but don't assume that other people don't like the album because you think it's a trash album. I get into so many arguments with people about this. Like, this is what clearly shows you what's going on with the music. If the daily numbers are there, then clearly daily people are listening to this. It just doesn't make sense for older artists to be boosting these numbers. It really doesn't. It makes absolutely no sense. I can understand newer artists that are doing the music, that are in music, that are competing with other artists. You know, I could see where the boosts come from. But 50 was selling hard physical. This album sold 1.2 million copies at the end of 2007. It came out September 11th. Sold 691,000 first week. The following months, September, October, November, December, within those 4 months, by the end of the year, did 1.2, 1.3 million by the end of that year. That's physical copies of CDs. You didn't have to get streams or any of that shit. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because it was just funny. The conversation around it was hilarious because it's like, this album was trash. Nobody listened to this shit. There's no way it got 1 billion streams. Like, you guys don't understand how big 50 is. And that album had hits. AO Technology and I Get Money are still records. I see I Get Money all over TikTok. I see that song all over TikTok. AO Technology here and there, but like AO Technology, when I travel, I hear that record. I remember I was as a kid, I was in gym, we would do these laps around. And I remember my gym teacher playing the record because Justin Timberlake was the biggest. Timbaland and Justin Timberlake were huge. And 50 was huge at the time, so them making a record together just obviously made sense that it was going to be a hit. Like, there's no way that wouldn't have been a hit. That's like an easy formula for a hit record. That's it, man. Very interesting, though. A lot of people shit on 50's catalog and say he's this and that, but the numbers say otherwise. Whether you like it or not, Jay-Z ain't getting these type of numbers. You know, there's a lot of artists, no disrespect to Ludacris, T.I., DMX, whoever are around that era, they ain't getting these type of numbers. But, yeah, that's my kind of take on it. All right, so there's this guy, LaRussell. I don't listen to this guy's music. I don't even know who the fuck he is, but he just signed to Jay-Z's Rock Nation and so on and so forth. And he said something about Lil Wayne. So let me play this clip. And it's making its rounds off social media, and everybody's kind of having this debate. So let me play it for you guys.
Yeah,
I gotta respect
he had a conviction.
I had a moment in my journey where I had grew a disdain for Wayne just because I started listening to everything. Like, I started maturing as a human, and I'm like, damn, this nigga wasn't talking about nothing for a long time. And
I
like,
think that's
you.
what
I
his
asked him
argument
about that.
was.
you know, like as someone who like grew up in these communities,
Right.
and grew up with homies who I seen want to be Bloods because they following Wayne and want to be gangster and want to shoot all the gun bar and shit.
Right.
Like, I've seen the negative that he contributed to the community, and I had to look like, man, what are the songs where he really talked about something and gave? And out of a 1,000-song catalog, you know, it's minute on this end.
It's like Georgia Bush.
And
Right.
that do bother you. Man, Tie My Hands.
That's
One
what
of
I
the
was
greatest
going to say.
records
Tie
ever.
My Hands
Right?
is the only one
and
I can think of.
And that's the thing. It's like, if I hug you once, but I slap the shit out you 1,000 times, you know, your affinity for me is you're probably going to remember me for
Right.
this. And a lot of people don't, you know, as I mature, a lot of my old favorite artists, I'm now like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, I love you because I learned how to rap to you, but when you look at the contribution, it's like, man.
So basically what he said is Lil Wayne has no substance in his music, and that's basically it. He just talks about nothing. Well, I don't know Lil Wayne's catalog to a T, but I know he's had records that mean something. It's not just like bullshit. Now, granted, there might be records where, you know, every artist, you know, has like fun records where they make fun of shit, and you know, Lil Wayne has a huge, extensive catalog of music. But to make this assumption that Lil Wayne's never had, like, really substance, they mention, like, one record, and he's like, well, you have 1,000 records, and you got one record. That's, you know, if I slap you 1,000 times, you're going to remember me for slapping you instead of whatever he says, hug you, or whatever the other thing is. But Wayne has records that have substance. And what I've been hating is, as the years have gone on, there's been, like, revisionist history when it comes to certain rappers. And Lil Wayne is one of them, where people just like forget that this guy at one point was running music. Like, he was the peak, the pinnacle, sold 1 million physical copies. By the way, when the music industry wasn't selling at all, like nobody was moving units like that. You know, if it wasn't for the 50 and Kanye battle, they probably wouldn't have moved those type of units on either of the albums. Curtis probably would have done 400,000 first week, and Graduation probably would have done 700, 600,000 first week. But them battling is what helped them move a lot of units. And then 2008 came following that battle. And who sold in 2008? It was literally just Lil Wayne. T.I.'s Paper Trail did like 400,000, I think. Let me see, because Paper Trail came out at that time. Actually did 357,000 copies. First 3 days of its release. Ultimately, the album debuted at number 1 with 568,000 copies. So it kind of like leaked, but they pushed it. So 568,000, which is an insanely good number in a year where albums weren't selling. But Lil Wayne did 1 million. Lil Wayne was on everybody's track. Every track he was hopping on was going high up on the Hot 100 or going number 1. So you don't get to that level if you don't release some type of music with some type of substance. It's not just all bullshit. You know, what's that record? I Feel Like Dying. That's one of my favorite records. He's got a lot of records, man. I just can't off the top of my head. He's got a lot. Pum, dun, 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 I lost you. What's that record, man? How am I not? Nah, I lost you. Dun, 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 dun. I gotta find that record, man. Here's the record. It's called Something You Forgot. And this record was like, it has insane substance, and it's one of the best records that Lil Wayne's ever made. I love this song. I can't. I'm gonna get copyrighted like a motherfucker.
Be praying for the day you come back to me saying that you forgive me. Give me another chance. I need an electric kidney. You with a pistol to my holster. Bang.
Yeah, but he's had records with substance, man. People are saying that he doesn't have records with substance is lost their fucking mind. You don't release over, I don't know how many fucking, because he released more than 1,000 songs in his career. You don't release that much music without having some type of substance. So this revisionist history when it comes to social media is just ridiculous. It happens with Wayne, it happens with 50, it's happened to Eminem, it's happened to mainly those three, to be honest with you. Who else? But yeah, it just happens at certain moments where I'm like, why are people like just acting like these guys didn't dominate and just run everything and be one of the best ever to ever do it, you know, at that moment? Because every artist has their prime. No, just because they're not in their prime now doesn't mean that they never had that prime. And that's something that I will always fight against. I will always voice against, because I'm not about to have a fucking 18-year-old, or how old is this LaRussell? It's probably like, he's got to be a fucking, he's older than me, and he has this revisionist history about shit. Bro, you're 31. I'm 30. And you're over here like, and he's going to turn what? 30. He's going to turn 32 this year. So come on, bro. You tripping. I thought you were like 23 or some shit, because that would explain a lot. But even then, you'd be a lot more like Lil Wayne fan, because usually younger people are. But yeah, that's my take on it. Stop rewriting history and acting like Wayne wasn't that guy when he was that guy. All right, let's get into this J. Cole The Fall Off album review. And I'm not really, since there's just like a shit ton of records on this, I think there's how many? Let me see. You got 12 plus 12, so 24 tracks on this album. I'm not going to like explain why every track is everywhere, you know, like I normally do. But I'm going to go over the best tracks, the bad tracks, and then the neutral, and then I'm going to give my total review. So let's go over the best tracks. I'll just go in order, actually, and see where I'm at with these, just to make it a lot easier. Or, let me see. Yeah, I'll go in order. So the 29 intro and 2-6 I count as one, because it's really just the intro of the record, and there's nothing like, the intro is really nothing said or done. It's just like a cool intro, right? So I just count them as one. And yeah, I got that on the best tracks. I liked it. I like Safety as well on the best tracks. It's one of my favorites on there. This is where we go to Run a Train. I wasn't a fan of this record. I hated the hook. Just didn't like it at all. It just was one of those things that just came and went for me. Wasn't a fan of the track at all. Poor Thing, I like this because it was dissing some random North Carolina rapper. It was funny, and it just overall executed really well. So that was a great record. Legacy, wasn't a fan of. Again, hook wasn't good. Like J. Cole on this, hook-wise, just wasn't there. It's pretty repetitive hooks that were pretty boring and simple. Some of the production was boring as well on some of these tracks, but Legacy was not a fan of. Bunce, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Bunce Road Blues, not a fan of this record. Love Thames' part, though, but not a fan of the track overall. Who the Fuck Is You? Love this track. It was one of my best tracks on there. Love it. Drum and Bass, another track I loved on this album. The Let Out, another track. I love country type strings, like country type effect. Very different type of track for J. Cole. I liked just the route he went with this record. Let's see here. Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas. Wasn't a fan of, let me see if I have this. No, I was a fan, sorry. Mainly of the second half of this track, which I believe is Hit the Gas. Bombs in the Ville was all right. The second half portion I really enjoyed, but I put it in the best tracks because I still bump it regardless. Lonely at the Top. This was a neutral track for me, and it was 1 out of 2 neutrals. So this is one of the neutrals where I just kind of am in the middle with it. I don't know if I like it or dislike it. It's just there. Let's go to the other disc, 39 intro. Not a fan of, could care less. It's like really fucking long. Just had no interest in the record. The Fall Off is Inevitable. I had this in one of the best tracks. I really enjoyed this. The Villist, wasn't a fan of this track at all. Could care less. Hook was terrible. Old Dog. This is my favorite track off the whole album. I'm not going to lie. I like the arrogant, cocky, just the beat, everything, man. I just was a fan of this completely. I enjoyed this. My favorite track on the whole album. It's actually, it competes with What If. So I do have What If as one of my best, but we'll talk about that later. Life Sentence, wasn't a fan of this track. Only You, did not like this track. Man Up Above, this is where I was neutral. This is another neutral track. So I only had Lonely at the top and Man Up Above as the neutral tracks, where I was kind of in between. I didn't know if I liked it or disliked it, but it's there. I Love Her Again, not a fan of this track. What If, again, one of my favorite tracks off the album. Loved speaking from the perspective of Tupac and Biggie. It reminds me of 50 Cent's What If. Maybe you got inspiration from that. I don't know. Quick Stop, wasn't a fan of this track, could care less. And The World and the Whole World is DeVille, wasn't a fan of this track. And Ocean Way was not a fan of this track. Get into further explanations was just, this video would be like 2 hours long. So I'm not going to get into the further explanations of a lot of this stuff. Some records, he was just doing too much. He was trying too much stuff out. I wasn't a fan of. Some records, he's singing melodic. Not a fan really of that. Some records where he was trying new stuff, like the, like the Let Out, that I really enjoyed. Sometimes he missed. Sometimes he actually nailed it. So that's 10 good tracks, 11 bad tracks, and 2 neutral tracks. So if I put the neutral in the good tracks, let's just say I put that in the good tracks, it's 12 good tracks, 11 bad tracks. What does that leave the score? That leaves a score of 5 out of 10. So what was I talking about in the beginning of the podcast? I basically said, I don't like this score because it leaves it right in the middle. It doesn't leave it as a bad album. It doesn't leave it as a good or great or classic album. It leaves it as, it's just there. Maybe I can get to 6 out of 10. Maybe. But it is a 5 out of 10. It hasn't impressed me, and it's not like a bad album like KOD and For Your Eyes Only. Those two, I'm not a fan of at all. Like, I could care less. This ranks above those 2 albums, 100%. But in his catalog, it ranks like right in the middle. It's like not good, but not bad. It's just there. And it's sad because this is a 24-track album, and I was expecting, I guess maybe because I'm looking at it this way, and the reason why I have it at this rating is because I was expecting more. With the Apology, I either expected it to go 2 ways. He goes a completely softer route, or he goes more aggressive and just goes beast mode, like the Birthday Blizzard. I love that mixtape. If you would have added those 4 records on here, that would have skyrocketed. That mixtape to me is perfect. 4 tracks, all 4 of those tracks I enjoy. I bumped them all day, every day, especially the last one on that. I think 99 overall. I love that fucking freestyle. That mixtape I loved. But this album, the problem with it is I was expecting, I guess for me, I had a preconceived expectation, I guess, of J. Cole either being aggressive or taking a more lighter route. And the problem with this album, he's right in between. And he gets an in-between rating. He gets a 5 out of 10 because of that. It's got like a lot of North Carolina rep in the Ville. It's got some cool little stories here and there, but it's like, and then he's got moments where he's like pumping his chest up and I'm the best and this and that. I don't know. I was expecting more. If this is truly his last album, I was expecting like bombs away. We're going to get something crazy. He's going to like basically put his balls on the table and be like, yo, or slap his dick on the table and be like, no homo. Slap his dick on the table and just be like, yo, like what the fuck y'all going to do? I'm going to go at everybody. I wasn't expecting an album, I guess, dissing people all day, but just like more aggressive, being like, yo, fuck all of you that were making fun of me for apologizing. And I'm the best. That's it. Nobody can say shit. He has moments of that, but it's like in between, and there's records of lovey-dovey, and it's this and this, and yeah, it's hard to have a good album that's a double disc. Very hard, because even Drake's Scorpion, it has its moments, but it has very low points as well. Having 24 tracks in the album is very hard to pull off, where it's actually good, like really good. So that, if this was cut down, like let's just say the best tracks I have on here, 29 Intro with 2.6, which I count as one record, Safety, Poor Thing, Who the Fuck Is You, Drum and Bass, The Let Out, Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas, The Fall Off Is Inevitable, Old Dog, What If, Lonely at the Top, Man Above, he would have had a classic. But he had all these other records, Run a Train, Legacy, Bounce Around Blues, 39 Intro, The Villas, Life Sentence, Only You, I Love Her Again, Quick Stop, The Whole World is DeVille, Ocean Way. These records did nothing, and they're just not that good of songs. But that's my review at it. 5 out of 10. It's an unfortunate score because it doesn't put it in the bad category and doesn't put it in a good. My rating is this. If you go below 5, it's a 4 out of 10. It's a bad album. Anything below 5 is bad. Anything at 6 and 7 is a good album. Anything at 8 and 9 is a great album. And then obviously 10 out of 10 is a classic. So this album just hits right in the middle where it's not a bad album. It's not a good album. It's just there. And I think that's kind of like the worst position you can be in with an album, because you would much rather have somebody be either upset at the album and say it's complete trash, or say they love it, because it's going to be a forgettable album, at least to me. If I have it right in that category, I'm probably going to forget it as the years go on, and I'm not really going to listen to it. But that's my take on it, man. That's what I think of the album. I sat with it for the longest out of anybody that's probably ever done a review. I sat with it probably a week. Yeah, over a week and 2 days. So, I really sat there, listened to everything, repeated it. I probably listened to the full thing, I want to say, probably like 4 times, top to bottom, just to kind of get a feel. I was like, let me see, man. Maybe I'm missing something with this. And it usually came out to the same thing, man. It just came out to the same result of like, hey, this is an all right, subpar album. But yeah, that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. Let's get into new music. And Brent Fiaz dropped the Icon album. A Boogie with a Hoodie dropped Before. Artistry, the EP. Mike Will Made It. NBA YoungBoy and Chief Keef dropped Rooms. Central C dropped Iceman Freestyle. Hit Boy and Spank Nitty James dropped Yeast Talking Deluxe. Jamie Foxx dropped Somebody. YFN Lucci dropped You Special. And Waka Flocka Flame dropped the LeBron Flocka James 2K26 mixtape. Larry June Currency and The Alchemist dropped Everything Allocated. Bossman D-Lo dropped Act Like Money. G Herbo, Kylie Rich, and Gene Carter dropped Sneaky Link NYC. So very, very cool. Let's go into album sales. Let's see. J. Cole, by the way, Billboard reported it. But J. Cole, they said 280,000 here. Hits Daily Double has at 290,000. So I don't know. But J. Cole debuted at #1 with 290,000 sold first week, with about 114 being physical copies, vinyls and stuff like that. So congratulations to J. Cole. That is a huge number. He beat Bad Bunny, because Bad Bunny's at #2 with 246,000. That's a huge increase. T's Golden Hour Part 4 is at #3 debut with 178,000. Don Toliver's #4 with Octane, 94,000. Joe G Piss in the Wind is at #5 debut with 84,000. Bad Bunny is at #6 with 78,000. #7 Morgan Wallen, I'm the Problem with 75,000. #8 Olivia Dean, The Art of Lovin', 75,000. #9 Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl with 54,000. K-Pop Demon Hunters Soundtrack, #10 with 41,000. Going down the list, a bunch of Bad Bunny albums came back on the charts. NBA YoungBoy Slime Cry, #20 with 28,000. Drake Take Care, #27 with 23,000. Michael Jackson, #1 is climbing back on the. That's crazy. What for? I wonder. Probably Jeffrey Epstein and people kind of giving Michael Jackson. Oh no! I'm tripping. The movie, the trailer coming out. Duh. I'm stupid, man. But yeah, they were giving a lot of people with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. They were given a lot of like, what? Michael Jackson was never mentioned. Blah blah. 3 Doors Down, man. Rest in peace to the lead singer. That the Greatest Hits is back on the charts at #33, man. That's my childhood music right there. Kendrick Lamar, GNX, #34 with 20,000. Cardi B, Am I the Drama, #39 with 19,000. Drake, Views, #41 with 18,000. Party Next Door and Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You, #44 with 18,000. BX The Plug, I Hope You're Happy, #48 with 16,000. And Eminem, Curtain Call, The Hits, #49 with 16,000. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys. Stream us, Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to us, and peace.